Now that is one tall box. FLSun reached out to me and asked if I wanted to review their Super Racer, not to be confused with Speed Racer. I said, oh, yeah? I think Delta printers are really unique and really cool. I could watch them all day. Well, as you can see, this is a pretty tall box. And my garage is under construction. So I have pretty limited space right now, so I decided to just take everything out. As you can see, there's a lot of parts here. This is going to take a little while to build, and I will have timestamps in the description. So if you feel like that you need to just advance forward, by all means, do so. Because not everyone wants to see a build of a machine. And I could understand that, especially if you've seen the build before. And I'm just excited to build this machine. I've never had a Delta printer before, and this is going to be awesome. I could just watch these things print all day long. So first, let's take a look at the user manual. Now, I would suggest that you go through this manual, possibly before you even start building it. And also look at the thumb drive or SD card, so to speak, that you received with this printer. I mean, they even go as far as to show you the new board that's in here. It's updated, and it's nice that there is a wiring diagram. This is a 32-bit board with 2209 silent steppers. They even go through on how to maintain this machine, which you really don't see that in any other manufacturers. It's pretty nice because, you know, this does have linear rails, and it tells you how to properly maintain them, how often you should grease them. And I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. So let's go ahead and continue on with the build.
We have to build it.
First, I'm in the US, so we're going to switch it to 115. Currently, we're assembling this upside down. And we're going to do this process right here 3 times. We're going to start by plugging in this Z stepper motor, the cable, and then we're going to tuck this stepper motor into the top part of the chassis, which again is upside down. And we're going to do this 3 times. So yes, bear with me on this one. Like I said, it's going to be a pretty long build. And we're going to use 4 screws. Think about this as changing the tire on your car. We're going to want to install these screws in a zigzag fashion. We're going to first start with the upper left. Now we're going to install the screw and somewhat tighten it in the lower right. Then we're going to go to the upper right. Now we're going to do the lower left. Again, this process is going to be done on all 3 corners. It's the same exact way. Now we're going to just go in and just torque the rest of them down a little bit. Just make them nice and snug. No reason to over tighten. Now we're going to just continue the process on the other 2 corners. Same exact way. Plug in the stepper motor, tuck it in, and then we're going to just put the screws in zigzag fashion. Now, the manual actually says that you could just leave it upside down and then put the base in. I decided to not follow those steps. I'm putting the base in, and then I can just go, go ahead and slide the whole everything just into the base. All the screws and everything. And then we're going to just go ahead and slide the whole everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. And then we're going to just go ahead and slide the whole everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the screws and everything just into the base. All the sc extrusions, because this way it's easier for me. It may not be easier for you, but this is definitely easier for me to do it this way. It was a little bit of a struggle getting it in to get everything lined up. I think that's why they have you do it upside down, because the base would just slide in nice and easily. But now we're going to just do the same thing that we did on the top part, which is secure it with 4 bolts each. I know that there's some people that enjoy watching the build process and others don't, so I appreciate you sticking through it this long. Again, this is a little bit more complex of a build. Per the instructions, the machine is upside down, and now we're going to put in the display magnet mount. This is pretty unique. I got a T-nut that we're going to slide through the extrusion on the bottom of the machine. As you saw, the machine is right now upside down. So there's an open spot at the base of the machine, and we're going to just go ahead and slide this down the channel here. Now we're going to just go ahead and tighten it, and you will see that the display just sticks right on. Pretty cool. Okay, so now we're going to flip the machine back to its correct spot. And this will be the last time that we flip the machine. And well, actually I flipped it more times than needed, but now we're going to go ahead and install these carbon fiber rods. Pretty light, and this is what's going to help move our hot end around. It's pretty cool. So we're going to just orient the machine, and we're going to install it right here. You can see that there's little ball ends where these on these linear rails, and we're just going to go ahead and pull them apart a little bit. The spring keeps them nice and taut. They don't snap in. I'm actually thinking that they do, but they don't. They just kind of just force fit on there because of the springs. And we're going to do that to all 3. Now we're going to take the whole hot end assembly, and this is pretty darn light because it needs to be, because this thing whips around pretty fast. And we're going to go ahead and just put the rods in its place, just like what we did on the linear rails. And this whole head is going to suspend. Now we're going to wire the hot end assembly. We have a group of wires on the top, and that is actually where all the electronics is stored. You have your power supply and your main board is all on the top. And we're just going to remove the tie wrap there, and we're now going to connect all the wires. All the wires are color coded, so you can't really mess it up. You will see 2 black ones that are for both cooling fans, so you don't have to worry about plugging in the wrong one. Now we're going to take this cord at the bottom, and it's going to go and plug in all the way at the top. It's keyed, so you can only insert it one way. Now we're going to install the extruder. and this is all on this one bracket. So all we have to do is make sure that we line up the filament runout sensor into the Bowden tube up here. So that way, when we do line it up, that the filament will actually go through the Bowden tube into the filament runout sensor. What a novel idea. And there's a little hook, and we're going to hook it on there. And then once we have everything secured, we are going to then screw it in place. Next, we're going to plug in the extruder cable into the extruder motor, stepper motor that is. And then we're going to do the same for plugging in the filament runout sensor. Next, we're going to take the Bowden tube from the hot end assembly, and we're going to push it in to the extruder. And then we're going to make sure as we're pushing it in, we're going to then put our nice little retaining clip in there to make sure that this Bowden tube does not back out on its own. Don't you hate it when a Bowden tube just backs up on its own? Now we're going to assemble our spool holder that goes all the way on the top of the machine. Yes, all the way on the top. And now my machine's on the floor. Because I got one leg. I can't really get on a ladder. I'm not going to get on a ladder. Sorry, guys. I'm not going to get on a ladder to attach up a spool holder. Not happening. So I'd rather just have another floor printer at this point. Now, last step is to plug it in. Well, almost the last step. Because we really know the last step is peely time.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
Now let's go over some of the features. As I mentioned, this does have linear rails on all three extrusions. Then we also have belt tensioners. These are very high quality. We have a volcano type nozzle. Then we also have dual part cooling, 2 fans on both sides. Then we have the carbon fiber rods. We also have a leveling sensor, and we have a touchscreen display. We have a glass heated bed that, once cooled, releases the part, and we also have a Bondtech clone extruder. We have a filament runout sensor as well. This thing is pretty loaded. Okay, let's go ahead and turn on the machine and take a look at this display. Huh? Pretty nice intro graphics here. It doesn't seem to take long to boot up. Take a look at all of our folders and files for printing. Click on settings, motor off, fan, and we have tools, we have the heat, move, change the filament. Yeah, not really much going on. And of course we can take a look at our firmware. Now this is equipped with auto bed leveling, but what you need to do is actually when you're getting ready to level, you need to plug in the sensor at that time. It's keyed so it only fits in one way, and then it has a magnet on the end. So all you have to do is basically put it on. Since the bed doesn't move, you really won't need to level your bed all that often. And actually, you may not even need to level it almost at all after this point. This is definitely sped up. It takes about 3 minutes and 20 seconds to level your bed and develop that mesh. But again, none of the parts really move except for this whole gantry, and so you should be good for quite a while. Now I think it's time to start testing some prints. I mean, that's what we all came for, right? See how this thing prints. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Now they say that this is a pretty fast printer. At least that's what FLSun says. So my first test was doing this, cube at 200 millimeters per second. Took 21 minutes. As you can see, looks like we got some under extrusion here. They really want you to heat up the PLA to about 220 degrees, Celsius, and it didn't do too bad. But then I just went back at normal pace, around 80. This one took just about 28 minutes, and you can see a huge difference. Now, of course, I'm going to need to tweak this machine and see if I can come up with better profile settings to optimize the speed. And let me know in the comments if you think I should go ahead and do another video on see how fast I can do. Now, this benchy took 1 hour and 7 minutes. It's pretty rough, but in all honesty, it's not my worst benchy ever, but it's definitely has a runner-up clause on here. You can see on the back there are some under extrusions there. It definitely didn't keep up with pushing the filament through. So I decided to slow it down some. This was about 100 millimeters, and it did a much better job. There's still some under extrusion, but it's not nearly as bad. But this is actually all the filament is Jesse PLA. I'll put the links in the description below. Now we got some clock spring designs here. This clock spring design is called the Jolt capsule. It prints just like this, and apparently everything printed so nicely it all folded up rather perfectly. This is at 0.12 millimeters print, and it is very clean. Now you see a little bit of overhangs right there, but man, overall it did a fantastic job. I know this is supposed to print really fast, but if you go slow, you get results like this. This clock spring design is called the Catalyst capsule. Again, 0.12. I mean, this came out just superb. I mean, again, this is at 80 millimeters per second, just like the rest of these prints are going to be, minus the big base in the back. But I mean, this just hit a fantastic job. Now there's supposed to be some little magnets in those holes there. I don't have them. That helps secure these lids in place. But man, overall, fantastic print. This is a marble ivory vase done by Andrew Reynolds. Now, it's not done in marble. It's done in Purple Eater, Jesse PLA. But this was done at 140 millimeters per second. Came out pretty good. Very stringy. I don't know. It's actually, it's just not that good. Let me put it in a back there. So this is another clock spring design. This is the reciprocal vase. You may have seen this done before on my YouTube channel. I just love this design. And I had to slow it down. This is done at 80 millimeters per second at 0.12. And on vase mode, that speed seems to work. No more than 80 millimeters per second. I think it came out rather striking. So what are my thoughts of the FLSun Super Eraser? Well, let's start out with assembly. Assembly was pretty straightforward. Everything went together rather nicely. However, when I turned it on for the very first time, the display just didn't work. Found it rather odd. I took the whole thing apart, looked at the connections, and all it was that I had the filament runout sensor plugged in. It's nowhere located on the documentation. So only plug in the filament runout sensor when you need to use it. I would like to see a Meanwheel power supply instead of a Chengling power supply. With any 3D printer, you could expect some type of noise. This one, you could hear the extruder and the fans. To me, is this a deal breaker? No. I mean, it's it's a Delta. I could watch a Delta print all day long. I think it just looks really cool. But honestly, it's not that bad. Well, the machine is rather tall, actually very tall. And I'm sure that I could get this tuned to where it could print that 200 millimeters per second. Let me know if you'd like to see an updated video. Also, FLSun has given me a discount code for my subscribers or viewers to use during checkout. Just type the word garage in checkout on FLSun's website and you'll be gifted with a little bit of a discount. I really appreciate you tuning in to Tripod's Garage. I wish you a pleasant day, evening, or weekend, or whenever you decide to watch this video. Thanks again for tuning in. Catch you the next time on Tripod's Garage.